My husband and I are both retired and collecting state pensions. I'm 62, he's 63. He has a gross monthly state pension of $4,200. I have a gross monthly state pension of $3,600. The pensions do not have a built-in cost of living adjustment. However, they all have built-in survivor benefits of 50%. We would continue to get 50% of each other's pensions if one were to die. Well, thank you for letting us know what 50% survivor.
Yeah, that is helpful. That's for our listeners.
Excellent health. Insurance is provided through the state pension system for about $250 a month for the two of us. In addition, we have traditional IRAs of $300,000, Roth IRAs of $350,000. We also have mutual funds, CDs, and bonds in a non-retirement account for $200,000 and $45K in cash. We felt that was enough since our state pensions are pretty secure. Our monthly expenses are $6,500. Our home is worth $300,000. There's no mortgage or other debt. All right. Are you adding all this stuff up, Big Al?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. We both are planning to take Social Security in January of 2022. We would each get about $1,800 a month. This would allow us to be able to do some upgrades to our home, travel, and spend money on helping with expenses for our younger children. We would like to leave our IRAs untouched as long as possible. Hopefully, the Roth IRAs could remain untouched forever. It would become an inheritance for adult children and grandchildren, unless the money is needed to pay for long-term care in the future. Okay. We have no long-term care insurance. We looked into it, but it was extremely expensive because I have a chronic health condition. My husband's health is okay. What are your thoughts on long-term care insurance? Do you think we should investigate this more? I possibly could qualify for one of the hybrid policies, but it would require cashing out some of the investments to pay for it. Long-term care costs are my biggest fears, as my parents both required stays in nursing home that pretty much depleted their savings. When we begin collecting Social Security, where would you suggest we invest the extra money? We know we get more if we wait to collect Social Security, but we'd rather take it now, invest it, that we don't need it, but we could earn. Even if I don't earn the 6 to 8% rate guaranteed by Social Security. That way, if we were to die, at least our children and grandchildren could benefit from it. I know you and usually recommend delaying Social Security for at least one of us, but if we both start collecting in January 2022, do you think we'll be okay? If we didn't have such great pensions, we might think differently. We tend to think with our pensions and Social Security, we should be fine. Do you agree? Even if one of us were to die, the other would have a gross minimum monthly income of $7,500, which just our pensions and Social Security without touching any of our investments. We've seen too many people die young before being able to enjoy enjoy their hard-earned money. I love listening to your show. I value your advice. DK from the Diamond State. The
Delaware.
Delaware. Apparently it's the Diamond State.
I had no idea.
I had never heard of that either.
Thank you, DK.
Okay, so the pensions, I'm just going to round. So they're about $8,000.
Mhm.
And Social Security, if they collect it, will be around $1,800, call it $2,000. So they're close to $10,000 in monthly income,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yep.
Their monthly expenses are $6,500. So they got $3,000 plus extra, even without their investments. Right. So that's pretty good. And their investments, call it, 300 IRA, 350 and Roth, and then another, call it 250. So that's what, about 900,000, I think.
Yeah, they have 900,000.
So yeah,
Call it $1 million.
Yeah, call it $1 million. So I think that certainly if nothing goes wrong, they're just fine, of course. Now they're concerned about long-term care. Long-term care insurance is pretty expensive.
Because long-term care stays are very expensive.
That's right. That's why it is expensive. And I think something that a lot of people don't realize, a long-term care policy provides you a pool of money in the future. It's not unlimited. It's not like a health insurance that will pay no matter what your health care is. It gives you access to a pool of money. And so if you need it, you're glad you have it, because there's no way you could earn that rate of return to take whatever dollars you invest in the policy to use it for long-term care. On the other hand, if you don't need it, it's wasted money, just like any insurance.
Right. It's leverage. Let's say your long-term care policy is going to cost you $15,000 a year, right? And you spend $150,000 in premiums, but you probably have $400,000 of pooled benefit,
Right.
or even more, right? So if you invested that $15,000, you need to get a very high rate of return that's unachievable to get that type of pool of money. Plus, the pool of money in the long-term care is going to be tax-free to you.
Right.
So if you need it, it's absolutely the best thing in the world. If you don't need it, it's just like, putting insurance on your fire insurance on your house.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess here's why maybe this is just spitballing because we don't know their exact situation.
Sure.
However, you guys have $10,000 of income before even touching your investments, which, I mean, that's long-term care stays on a national level, or what, about 100,000 a year, something like that. So 10,000 a month would cover it, at least under current dollars, right?
Sure.
So I'm not sure you have a huge need for the insurance. Furthermore, the last thing you'd want to use is your Roth IRA to pay for it, because
It's tax-free.
because long-term care, if it's convalescent care, is 100% tax deductible as a medical expense. So you'd rather pull it out of your IRA because those two net, the income nets with the expense.
Yeah, because the retirement account is going to be taxable, but then you get a tax deduction for using that money to pay for your long-term care
Yeah,
stay.
yeah, and it's not quite dollar for dollar, but pretty much you get the idea.
So a few things is that if she's super worried about it and she can't sleep at night, well, at least look at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have excess cash flow and you could potentially afford it. And what you're doing is you're protecting your $1.3 million nest egg. You have $1 million in investable assets and $300,000 is your home.
Yep.
So you got $1.3 million that you don't necessarily want to lose to, extended care. So if you want to pass it on to the next generation, then you might want to look at a long-term care policy to protect it. If you're saying, but I think they have enough assets and income that they could self-insure.
Sure.
But then they might have a spend down. And so you really have to take a deeper dive to say, if long-term care is your biggest fear, well, then you got to figure out a plan to cure the fear, right? It's either what assets are you going to use, what income is going to be available, or you insure against it. So a long-term care plan is not necessarily insurance. It's just having a plan to figure out what's going to happen when that long-term care is going to occur, because it's not usually if, it's when, because we're living a lot longer and so on and so forth. So.
True.
All right. Hopefully that helps. Thanks, DK from the Diamond State.
Are you prepared for retirement? Schedule a free financial assessment with an experienced financial professional right online at purefinancial.com.